Welcome to Bold Leaps. I'm Lisa Bagshaw, and this is the show that interviews creative, inspiring, successful people about the risks they've taken to pursue their dreams. And today's guest is Trevor Linden. To say that hockey was always a big part of Trevor's life is an understatement. From the age of 4, hockey was all Trevor thought about. He was self-taught as a young boy, and he had a dream. Overcoming pressure, managing fear, hard work, commitment, focus, step by step, Trevor pursued his passion and rapidly achieved his dream. At 15, he played his first junior game. In his second year of juniors, he was drafted to the NHL. At 18, he was the youngest player in the NHL, and at 21, he was the youngest captain in the league. And then, 20 years ago to the day of being drafted into the NHL, Trevor retired. What I wanted to know was what happens when the dream ends. Trevor, welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Great to be with you, Lisa.
What a story. Let's get into it.
Yeah, for sure.
So walk me through, if you will, prior to making the decision to leave the life the only life you've ever known since you're 4 years old, the dream. Walk me through the thought process and some of the things that may have led to that decision.
Yeah, so if you just back up, as you said, the only thing I thought about from the time I was 4 years old was being a professional hockey player. And I grew up in a small town, Medicine Hat. I skated on the outdoor rinks. I managed to find my way. I was able to do the right things and be drafted and make a career of it, and really realize a dream, and that was super special. But you live really in this bubble, this unreal life, which is the National Hockey League, which is being a professional athlete, because you are paid well, you are taken care of with the best doctors, the best nutritionalists, you're told where to be and what to do and how to do it and taken care of, and everything is sorted out for you. And I was fully aware that as amazing as that life was, that wasn't real life. And I think every professional athlete understands, or hopefully they understand, that it's going to come to an end one day. And some athletes obviously don't want to think about it. And I think I was very pragmatic about it, very realistic about it. And also I realized that sometimes it's not your choice to leave. You just expire, as they say, which is a nice way of saying you're too old to do what you love to do anymore, and you have to figure out what the next step was. And for me, as scary as that was, I also found it really exciting. And I was looking for the next step. I was looking for, okay, what else is out there? Because I said this when I retired. I said, I'm going from a very old hockey player to a very young man. I was 38 years old when I retired. And in the hockey world, I was old, washed up, a little bit of gray coming in. Hey, let's get the new guy in here. This guy can't do it anymore. And that's the way it works. But in the world, I was 38. I was a young guy. And so I wanted to explore what could be.
So when you said that it was a scary thought to think about leaving hockey, can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's interesting now, 15 years later, when I look back at that time, I have better perspective. But at the time, it's like you're letting go of the only thing you know and what you've loved your whole life. And you are, just, it's scary because it's the unknown. For 20 seasons, every September, I went to training camp. I joined my teammates. We started to work on the season and building up. That was just how my life was. And then that September, 15 years ago right now, there was no training camp. And there was no thought about the first game of the season and making the playoffs. And that was gone, just like that, and over. And so that is a bit scary, for sure. Having said that, I was looking forward to things. I was looking forward to having the ability to have weekends, because as a professional hockey player, you don't, I mean, it's either, I always said it was either a practice day or a game day, but there was no such thing as, hey, it's the weekend, what are we going to do? Or, you're very, very restricted on what you can and can't do. Christmas was one day. It was Christmas Day. Normally we played on Boxing Day. So I was looking forward to having those sorts of opportunities. I was also always really, interested in athletes that weren't solely identified with their professional careers, that had made themselves successful or found a career after their career, if you will, and I was really, I remember playing in Montreal, and there was a great iconic player by the name of Dickie Moore who played for the Canadiens in the 50s and 60s, and he went on to have this very successful rental equipment business in Quebec and Montreal, and I just, in those success stories always resonated with me, because I think what an athlete does after he retires is pretty interesting, and I found out those stories interesting about. So I was looking forward to not having to depend on hockey. I depended on hockey my entire life. That's the only thing I knew. I never went to college. I never went to university. So it's all I knew was hockey. So to be able to kind of, break down the walls and say, wow, now what? Where do I go? Was I was looking forward to that, as well as being scared of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can understand the combination of the feelings there. So when you say, I don't know what the process would be, but when you would sit down with presumably your coach at the time and let them know that you are leaving hockey, how did you feel at that time?
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember the last game of the year. We weren't going to make the playoffs that year, and I remember getting up that day thinking, this, because it's such a routine. Hockey players are, I played close to 1,500 games throughout my career, and you have that routine. You get up, you have breakfast, you go to the rink, you have the pregame skate, you come home, have your pregame meal, you have a little nap. I was never a napper. I usually laid still for an hour and rested, and then I'd go back to the rink at 3:30. And so that whole routine, I realized that day I would never do this again. And so it was very, and I knew that it was time. It wasn't a big secret that it was time for me to move on as an athlete, and I was thankful for the years I had, but it was emotional. It was very emotional. It was a piece of me that I was losing, it felt like.
A piece of you that you were losing. So was there sadness there?
Yeah, I think at that time there was a tremendous amount of sadness.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that little boy inside me that was his love. That's what he thought about every day, and I don't think you lose that. And going through that final game day, that when I got to the rink for the game, I was putting my skates on thinking, this is it. I'm never doing this again. And I never have. I've never, lacing your skates up for a National Hockey League game is very special, and I never took it for granted. So I didn't lose sight of that final game. I realized, this is it. This is the last time I'm going to do this. This is the last time I'm going to work on my sticks before the game. This is the last time. And I remember when I left my house to drive to the rink, I was emotional. I was weeping, because it was just like I was losing something. Yeah. So it was sadness, very much.
Wow. We have to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to ask Trevor what life was like immediately following this massive leap. Welcome back to Bold Leaps. Trevor, we're just talking about how you were so emotional, understandably, driving home from your final game when you've devoted your entire life to this game. You have had everything done for you, as you were describing. It had been your dream since the age of 4. I'm wanting to know, what was the first, like when you woke up the next day, and the next few days and the next few weeks, how did you feel?
It's interesting that the sadness of realizing something is gone and will never be replaced. It's not like you say, oh, I'm going to take a few years off and go back to that career I had, whether it be whatever you are, a lawyer, a dentist, construction worker. You can always go back to it. You can never go back to this. It's done. It is never, you know what I mean? And that's what's special and interesting about professional sports. But, I do think there was a big part of me that was forward-looking as well. I was grieving the loss of something. At the same time, I was excited about the future. And, I hadn't actually announced my retirement at that point. I just played my last game. And I remember as a hockey player, you'd never get your teeth fixed properly when they get smashed up. And I remember making dental appointments, the weeks after my last game, and my wife was like, "Boy, you really are going to retire, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm getting my teeth fixed properly, so yeah, I'm not going back on the ice." So, but I think there was something, that summer, because keep in mind, after the season ends, that summer seemed normal. It was summer. That's what I did. I didn't train like I would normally, but I was still being active. I think it really hit home that fall when it was back to training camp and I wasn't going.
And what was that like?
I think there were nuances to it for sure. There was some difficulties, but I think there's also that rhythm between a partnership, your husband and wife. It's like Christina's kind of like, you're home. Yeah, I'm home. I'm not going to training camp. We would be gone for a week and then road trips and such. But I think there was a big part of me that was excited about the future, that wanted to explore what was going to happen, what direction I was going to go in. And that fall, I remember being so excited about, I booked a mountain bike trip with some buddies to Moab, Utah, and just something I'd never done before. I got very much into cycling, the years past. And before I retired, and I was like, this is gonna be so cool. I'm gonna be able to go do this trip in the fall, and because normally I'd be playing. So, and there was also those things that were happening immediately, like the bike trip, and then I had a ski trip planned, which I'd never able to do in December. So exciting about spending some time in the snow. So those were on the bigger picture side, I was also thinking about, okay, I want to give myself 2 years just to kind of just to figure things out. Where am I going to go? Where's life going to take me? Where's my passion going to direct me? Where's my, what can I be? What can I do? What am I good at? Because I was totally unaware of that. All I knew was hockey. So the whole big picture thing of where does my life go? Where does my career go? What do I do with myself moving forward? And I knew that the fallback position could have been, I could work in hockey. I could be an assistant coach. I could be a scout. I could be part of an organization. That I knew, but I didn't want that. I thought that felt to me like the easy way. I wanted to kind of jump into the deep end and kind of figure out where I go and what I do.
Now, did you have a strategy? You'd taken the couple of years, but did you have a strategy for your basically reinventing your identity?
Yeah, and one of the things, I mean, I loved what I did, and my identity was really tied up as a hockey player, but I also knew that I wanted to explore different things, and I started doing that. I was started in it's interesting, you have to try things and realize they're not for you. And one of the things was development. I did 3 development projects, multifamily projects, not big, between 20 and 30 unit type buildings. And I realized that wasn't for me. And then I started doing a lot of public speaking and corporate endorsement stuff, which I loved. I loved the connection with people and being able to tell my story and relate it to their lives and so that was something that I really loved to do. And then, I took a lot of meetings. I took a lot of meetings with people walking in my office and saying, hey, come be involved in this business, come do this and come do that. And it's funny because a lot of them, I listened and knew right away that that wasn't me. And I'd write an email, thanks very much, good luck, but I'm not interested, and thanks for your offer and everything the rest. And then a gentleman who I met through a friend, walked into my office and presented me the idea of a value-priced fitness business. And what I thought was going to be a 45-minute meeting turned into a 2-hour conversation. And I left that meeting after 2 hours thinking, this resonates with me, this works. And it was the first thing that really connected with me, and that was June of 2010. And that was the birth of Club 16, Trevor Linden Fitness, and that's been a really exciting journey. We are 18 clubs big in the Lower Mainland, and it's been one of the things that I realized I lost with hockey was the rush of accomplishing something, scoring a goal, winning a game. And what I realized is the same thing, that same feeling of succeeding can happen with business. Opening our first club in Coquitlam, I'm wondering, are we going to sell any memberships? And then seeing the lineup out the door of the mall, people, and seeing this successful business happen, it was really, really rewarding. Much like scoring a goal, winning a game, finding success in sport, I've realized finding success in business was equally as satisfying.
And so when did you realize that you would be okay?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I realize that now, but I think it took years, honestly, Lisa, because I was so dependent on the game. With the game, you don't take any financial risk. Yeah, you risk your physical body every night, but you sign a contract, those are guaranteed dollars, you get paid on the 1st and the 15th, and now I was in this world where I wasn't being paid every 2 weeks. It was like, okay, I got to figure things out. I got to find my way, and so it's taken years. I'm not sure I'm there yet.
Well, it's an absolutely fascinating story. What a process. We have to take another break, but stay with us because we are going to talk about what life is like now for Trevor and what he draws upon to continuously create a beautiful life when we come back. Welcome back. Trevor, you have said, well, when you were playing hockey at the time, you said that hockey was your heart. Mm-hmm. Where is your heart now?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a pretty easy answer for me. To say the last 15 years have been the most amazing years. I was thankful to be a hockey player for 20 and did a lot of cool things, but I got to say this last 15 years with the things I've done, the friends I've met, the places I've seen, I think my heart is obviously with my wife, Christina. We had a son in 2017, Roman, which has been the absolute greatest gift ever. And, and one of my greatest blessings is being able to have a flexible schedule where I can just be with him and hang out with him and have lunch and go ride our bikes, and it's been pretty cool. I'm very thankful that I'm an older dad, so I have great perspective on how special this is.
Aw. And do you think that making that leap, leaving hockey and everything that you've been through, has transformed your relationships?
Yeah, I think with anything, I think you grow and learn and understand. And I've always, especially the last 10 years, Lisa, I've really worked hard at understanding who I am, what's inside here, and connecting what's going on here with what's going on here, and understanding. And, we're programmed a certain way from our childhood and everything else. And I think I've really fascinated on continuing to evolve and becoming a better person and understanding myself better. I think being a father and seeing Roman, parenting him in a way that allows him to fully develop things that he feels and wants to explore, and I really want him to be the driver of that. So that's been a great experience, just emotionally for me.
That's so amazing. It's so amazing that you have the opportunity to.
Yeah, and life today. I'm 53. I think it was interesting when I turned 50. I was really reflective. I was emotional. It was kind of like, wow. And you look back at where you've come, but I also look forward of where I want to be and go. And especially after I retired, I was scared too. I was scared about the future. I was scared about what my financial life looked like moving ahead. I mean, I've never had that don't have that NHL paycheck anymore. So what does life look like? How am I going to do this? What is it? And I think that I got to 50 and I'm kind of like, just things will be okay. I just have this mentality like everything's going to be fine. It'll all work out. Just try to, I'm working on trying to be present and enjoy today. And I think Roman is a great sense of that for both Christine and I, where we can live in the moment and live through his eyes and see his excitement for Halloween, and and just that's just such a cool thing to do. So I'm so grateful. Life has never been better. It's amazing. I'm excited about where business goes. I'm so excited about where family goes, and yeah, it's been an awesome journey. It's been special.
Well, I definitely think everything is going to be okay for you, Trevor.
Thank you.
I have two more quick questions.
Sure.
We don't have very much time. Number one, what do you think your biggest lesson was in pursuing your dream?
I think to have a vision, to have a plan and a vision for what you want it to look like, and be patient enough to let it happen.
And number two, what advice do you have for people who are too afraid to pursue their dreams?
Yeah, I think it goes back just to having a well thought out plan. And I think I had people around me that I could, mentors I would say, that weren't family. I mean, they were people that I trusted and I relied on, and so I think just relying on people to kind of support what you think is right, and step out, take the chance, and find your passion. And I think that's the most important thing. Be authentic to who you are. And that was one of the things that I tried to do, is find the authentic me and what really connected with me, and not what I thought I should be doing.
Well, thank you so much for being here. This has been such a insightful and inspirational story. I'm very inspired by what you've been talking about,
Awesome.
and I know others will be as
Awesome.
well.
Well,
Thank you
it's great
so
to
much.
spend some time with you, Lisa. Thank you.
And that's it for this episode of Bold Leaps. Special thanks to our sponsors. Join us next time for another inspiring story on Bold Leaps. Check us out on YouTube and other social media. Tell us your bold leaps in the comments. And remember, every step you take is a step toward your dreams.